Hi everyone, myself Dr. Lakshmi Prasad, working as an associate professor in the Department of Data Science in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the second module of Principles of Data Science, that should be Introduction to R Programming. So the very first thing is that why we should use R. So it should be a great resource for data analysis, data visualization, data science, and machine learning. It is going to provide many statistical techniques such as uh, statistical tests, classification, clustering, and data reduction. So it is also going to be used to easily draw graphs in R like pie chart, histogram, log plot, scatter plot, etc. And it will also be works on different platforms like Windows, Mac, Linux. It is an open source and free. It has a large community support. It is going to have many packages and libraries of function, so that can be used to solve different problems. So this R is going to be one of the great source for data analysis, visualization, data science, and data machine learning. So since it is going to provide many statistical techniques, so it should be perform some of the statistical tests or test and classification, clustering, and data reduction. So the drawing the graphs and also a little bit easy. One of the best example for the researchers, and should also be works on different platforms. It should be like an open source, and it should also have large community support. So what are the features of R programming language? So the statistical features of R should be that basic statistics. So the most common statistic terms are the mean, mode, and median. So these are all known as measures of sample tendency. And static graphs should be that. So RS should be the rich with facilities for creating and developing interesting statistic graphs. So it also contains the functionality of many plots for types, including graphs, maps, mosaic plots, by plots like this. And next one is that probability distribution. So the probability distribution should also play a vital role in statistics, and or you can also easily handle various types of probability distribution, such as binomial distribution, normal. And data analysis means it should be able to provide large component and integrated collection of tools for data analysis. So these are some of the features of our basic statistics introduced, and then static graphs can also be useful for probability distribution and data analysis. So what are the advantages of R? So R is one of the most comprehensive statistical package, and as a new technology and concept often appear in our programming. So R programming language should be an open source and can also be run anywhere at any time. So R programming language should be useful for GNU and Linux and Windows operating system. So R programming is a cross-platform, so which runs on many operating systems. In R, everyone is going to provide new packages, bugs, and code enhancements. So these are some of the advantages of programming. So R should be one of the most statistical analysis package, and it should be an open source and should be useful for GNU and Linux and Windows platforms, and it should be class platform. It should be runs in any kind of operating system, and in R everyone should be the new package, bugs, and code enhancement. So what are the disadvantages of R? In R programming language, some of the standard of packages is less than the perfect. So that means although R commands is going to give little pressure to memory management, so R programming language may consume all available memory. And so basically nobody able to compile something does not work. And R programming is much slower than other programming languages like Python and MATLAB. So R programming is very somewhat less comfort, and all commands should be give some little pressure to the memory management. So it should also be consume available memory. and should be a little bit slower than the Python and then MATLAB. And next one, what are the applications of R? So here we can able to use R for the data science, and it also gives as a broad variety of libraries to statistics, and it also provide the environment for statistical computing and design. And R is going to be used in many quantitative analytics as a programming tool, and it should also be helps in data importing and cleaning. So R is the most prevalent language. So many data analysts and research programmers is going to be used it, and it should be used as a fundamental tool for finance. And so most of the technical giants like Google, Facebook, Bing, Twitter, Accenture, Wipro, and many more is going to be used on nowadays. And what is the syntax we are going to be follow? Here, the more R should be the most language for the statistical computing and data analysis. So we can able to support some 10,000 plus free packages are available in Excel repository. So like other programming languages, so C, R is going to have some specific syntax which should be important to understand if we want to make its useful powerful features. So next question is that so list out the data types in R. So that means so the variables are not made to declare as in data type here, and the variables are going to be assigned with R objects, and data type of the object R object becomes the data type of the variable itself. So here there are many types of R objects that are available like vectors, lists, matrices, arrays, vectors, and frames. So these are some of the basic data types in our programming. So widely are going to be used this. So vector is nothing but a one-dimensional storage of values, and list should be the combination of both in the character, numbers, and then boolean, and then complex values are the can be destroyed. A matrix should be the two-dimensional storage, and also one-dimensional storage, and factors, data frames, which is also the two-dimensional where we can able to represent the data in the form of tables. And what are the operators that are available in our programming? So like arithmetic operators, so like less, minus, star, division, and relational operators less than, or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to, and logical operators and or an assignment operator and some other miscellaneous operators are going to be used. So these are the some of the operators that are available in our programming. So all these operators also be available in C, C++, Python, and Java. So describe about the functions is the next question. So functions are going to be useful when I'm going to perform a certain task of multiple number of times. And function accepts its input or commands and able to produce the output by executing the valid or commands that is going to be used inside the function. And functions are nothing but building blocks of the program, and these functions also created in order making the command function like function of, and the general structure of the file such be that so function name equal to function of and function call. So like this we are going to use this. So describe the various vectors in R. So some of the vectors will be list and matrix. So this one is going to be created by make use of this CM function that what we're able to call it as concatenation function. So by making use of this function, I can able to create two types of vectors like list and then matrix. So the list in R object able to contain different types of elements inside it like vectors, functions, and even other list inside it. And matrix is nothing but a two-dimensional rectangle data set, and it should be created using the vector input to make a matrix function. So matrix is normally two-dimensional data set, but it should be created by means of vectors only. So next, what is an array? So array is nothing but it should be a one-dimensional or maybe two-dimensional. So array is going to be take an extra attribute what we able to call it as dimension attribute. So based on the dimension, I can able to specify whether it should be one type of array, whether it should be two-dimensional or it should be one-dimensional array. What is the factor? So factor is nothing but a or objects. So it can be able to vary by using vector or function, and it is going to be create a vector along with distinct values of elements and the vector as labels also. And all these labels are going to have a character irrespective of whether it is an integer, numeric, or character, and it should be useful in statistical modeling. So this is going to store the vector along the distinct values of the elements, and it should also going to be numeric, and it should be also be character or maybe a boolean, etc. Input vector, and should also be useful in statistical modeling. And next one is that describe about data frames. So data frames are nothing but the tabular data objects. So unlike a matrix in a data frame, so each column should be able to contain different modes of data. And first column can be numeric, while the second column should be character, and third column should be the logical one. And it should be a list of vectors of equal length, and these data frames are going to be created by make use of this data dot from frame of function. So the data frames are somewhat similar to the tabular data objects. So unlike a matrix where we can able to assign variable names to the variable names to the columns. And how this one is going to be created by making use of the vectors concepts, and data frame is going to be created by making use of this data frame of function. So what are the rules we are going to be following for declaring a variable? So normally the variables should have letters, numbers, dot and underscore. Uh, and if I'm going to start with percentage, it should not be allowed. And if it is going to be start with number, is not going to be allowed. But we can able to start with dot. It should be followed by some number. This should be considered as a variable. And the variable should not be start with number, and it should not be start with percentage, and it should be start with either letters, dot, followed by numbers or letter underscore, and it should not be start with followed by dot is going to be followed by number, and it should be not be start with underscore. So these are the various rules we have to be followed by declaring the variable. And next one is that describe about the user-defined function. So R is going to be provide some built-in functions like print and cat off, etc. where we can able to create our own function. So R is going to have some of different types of built-in functions, print, concatenation function, cout function like this. So suppose if a user want to create his own function, so that is also going to be used. So here the simple R function to check whether the number is even or odd. So even or odd, so the function of x is writing. So how can I able to say the number is even or odd? This number is going to be with zero as the reminder, then it should be even. If it is not zero, then it should be odd. That is the concept. So here x is the variable, so x modulus 2 equal to 0, return even, else return odd. And print even odd function again. And next one it should be describe about our objects. So here in our programming we are going to have, so the variables are not going to be declared as the same data types, and variables are not going to be assigned with our objects, are going to be assigned with our objects only, and the data type of our object become the data type of the variable. So everything is just on an object. So our programming language, so R variables are not going to be declared as some data types, and all variables are going to be assigned with all objects, and the data type of all object become the type of the variable. The basic data types in R should be that scalars, vector, matrices, factors, and data frames and lists. Okay, so the R programming is going to have different types of data in R. So first thing should be scalar. Next one it should be vector, matrices, factors, data frames, and lists. Some basic data types should be numeric, integers, logicals, and characters. So these are the basic data types in our programming. So numeric, integers, logical, and characters. And next one should be vector. So vector is nothing but an one-dimensional array. So we can able to create the vector with all the basic data type with learned. And the simplest way to build the vector on should make use of this C command. So I'm going to create a vector like this. So 10, 20, 30, 40. I can then call it in CR function, which will be assigned to variables. So this is the vector create simple vector creating and make use of C function. Suppose if I want to create and character of variables x 0 should be assigned to. So this is the character vector. So this is a simple way of creating the vectors in R programming. The next one is that matrix. So what is the matrix? So matrix is nothing but a two-dimensional array that is going to have so many number of rows and columns. In other words, the matrix is the combination of two or more vectors with the same data type. In or more than two-dimensional arrays can also be created. So example matrix, data I'm giving. So number of rows, columns, and by row equal to either 2 or 1. So if I'm going to write a matrix like, so matrix of 1 is to 4, and row equal to 2, and column equal to 2. So if I'm going to write, so the values from one sequence of values from 1 to 2 is going to be stored in this one, column wise 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose if I'm going to mention this by row equal to true, okay, so then the output should be 1, 2, 3 row wise. It should be column wise. So by default, it should be column wise. By row, if I'm going to mention, then it should be represented as row wise. And next one, factors. So factor is nothing but a variable in which able to take a limited number of different values, such as variables. And in other words, the R can able to store categorical variables in factor. So how the factor is going to be created? So factor of function is going to be used. So factor is not also a variable not, so which can able to take limited number of different values. Such variables are often referred as categorical values. Suppose if I am going to x is equal to character, labels, labels, and order is equal is order of x. So like this is the syntax for creating the vector. And next one is data frame. So data frame is nothing but a list of vectors which are of equal length. Okay, so data frame is nothing but a list of vectors which should be of equal length. So the matrix is going to contain only one of the type of data, while the data frame can able to access the different types of data. So so the matrix can able to hold. Suppose I'm going to consider a matrix. So what is the matrix values? Integers only or numerics. But in case of data frame, if I'm going to consider, it should be a list of vectors which is going to hold the data of different values. So it should be data frame and this should be matrix. So how this data frame is going to be created? So data dot frame of df strings as factors equal to 2. And next one is list. What is the list? So list can store many kinds of objects in the order expected. So it also include matrices, vectors, data frames, and lists. So list is also similar where you can able to store the collection of objects and use them when you want to view them. So the list can able to store different kinds of objects in order expected, and it should also be include matrices, vectors, data frames, and lists. So we can also store a collection of objects and use them when I'm going to need them. So a semantic list of this list of element one and element two. So the arguments what I'm going to pass is element one. So it should also be stored on the type or object and able to pass many objects as specified. So each object needs to separate it by a comma. Okay. So these are the some of the list concepts. So list is going to be related to the use of list function. It should also be stored many kinds of objects and it should also be stored matrices, vectors, data frames, and lists. The next one is the descript about coercion. So coercion is nothing but all the elements of the vector should be of same type. So when I'm going to attempt it, I have to be combine different types of data. So some of the types will be logical, integer, numeric, and then character. So these are the some of the different types of data uh, coercion. So normally I'm going to convert from logical to integer, integer to numeric, and numeric to character. So in reverse is not possible. So coercion is nothing but when a logical vector is going to coerce into integer or double true become 1 and false becomes 0. So see here I'm going to create a vector of logical vector. So I want to convert it into numeric one so then I can able to make use the function as load numeric of x and I can able to count the number of rows in the vector by make use of this sum function and I can also be find out the proportion and I can also make use of mean. So like this we can able to calculate it. And next question is that describe about our data structures. So this one first one is vector. So vector is nothing but one of the basic one-dimensional data structure in R and list should be the generic vector that is able to be contained in any data type or any data structure. And matrix means that here we can able to use two-dimensional data structure in R as a matrix. Okay, so some of the basic data structures will be that vector. So vector is going to be created by making a C function, and list is also a generic vector which should also contain any data type or any data structure. So that means so by making a list function I can use 10, 30.5, 8, and complex value to be able to store. And matrix, so by making use of this matrix function, I can able to store a two-dimensional structure. So 1 to 4, n row equal to 3, n column equal to 3. So 6, 1 to 6 I'm writing. So the matrix should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 rows and 3 columns. Into 9 I'm writing 7, 8, 9. And some other factors in data structure should be factors. So factor is nothing but a vector that contains only the predefined values and is going to be used to store the categorical data. And data frame is the list of equal length vectors. So it should be able to make it as a two-dimensional structure. And array is a one-dimensional structure and also a special case of array of two dimensions. So the factor is a vector should contain only the predefined values and it is going to be used to store the categorical data. And data frame is a list of equal length vectors. So it should be a two-dimensional vector and array is nothing but a n-dimensional data structure where it should be a matrix of the special case of array of two dimensions. And next about vector. So what about vector? So vector is nothing but a sequence of data elements of same type, and this vector is officially called as a component series. Okay. So go if I'm going to try and describe about vector. So that means the vector is nothing but a sequence of elements. And what are the types of vectors? It should be numeric vector, it should be numeric vector, logical vector, and it should be character vector. So how can able to functions that are available to find the length of the vector? That should be length function. So if I'm going to write a vector, so how can able to find? So x, I'm creating a vector. How can able to find? So when I use the length of it, I can able to know what should be the length of this vector. Or I can also write it as x of c of this. So next, how are going to be combining the two vectors of different values? So in our programming, it is possible to the vectors can also be combined by making of C function. So it should be of different vectors. So one is an integer vector and there is a character vector. So how can you able to combine by make use of this C function? So C by make use of this C function, by make use of this C function again able to combine one is integer vector and there is character vector as well. So but value creation is going to be done. So the values what is there inside the vector should be the of same type. And what are the some matrix operations that should be arithmetic operations can able to perform in vector is that. So it should I can able to apply addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Suppose these are the two vectors I'm going to consider. So if I'm going to multiply with a scalar value, so I can able to get this value. Addition means I'm going to perform addition, then two vectors are going to be added and subtracted from one vector to another vector. Multiplication is also be done, division also be done. Suppose take an example. So A is a vector of values 10, 20, 30, and B is a vector of values 10, 20, 30. So I'm able to multiply two vectors A into B. If I'm going to write, so the output should be 100, 400, 9. So next about describe about odd data types. So some of the odd data types will be numeric, so which contains decimal as well as whole numbers. And integer contains only the whole numbers. And character is going to be whole character strings. And factor is the only contain the predefined values and is also going to be stored categorical data. And logical can also take the values either true or false. So these are the various types of. And some other data types will be vector. So vector is nothing but one dimension. So it should be considered as a sequence of data elements. And matrix two dimensions, which like a vector additionally contains the dimension attribute. And array is nothing but two or more dimensions. That means which is going to be hold multiple dimension data. And data frame is nothing but two dimension where table like object is going to be different data types or different columns. And list is nothing but the collection of data objects where each element of the list should be a data object. So these are the some of the data types in our program like numeric, integer, character, factor, logical, and vector, matrix, array, data frame, and list. So all these vectors should be one dimension, and remaining all everything should be matrix, array, and uh, data frame, so more than two dimensions. And this is also going to be a dimension, but is going to be hold a different kinds of object. And describe about the or conditional statements. So in many of the programming languages, so many conditional statements like if, else, if, like this, and loop statements may be for do while for. Um, do while, and then for, right? So in our programming also, it is also going to be support if statement, else statement, and else if statements as well. So what is the syntax for if statement? So if statement is going to be used when I am going to be set up statements is going to be executed. Then I have to make use of if statement. See x is equal to 5. If that value is greater than 0, then I'm going to print positive number. So hello there is there. So I want to check whether it is a character or not. So I can able to use is character of function. And next one, if else. So if else is going to be used whenever I'm going to check the condition. Two statements is going to be executed. Okay. If else is the function which also takes the vector as input and return the results in the vector also. So if the condition is true, then it is going to be return x, otherwise it is going to return y. So here consider vector here. So I want to check whether these numbers are even or odd. So if I'm going to apply modulus operation, then I can able to identify it is an even number and it is an odd number like this. So if else statement. So if else is going to be combined, there is no if and else is not different thing. So it should be if else. So it should be applied on vectors. So each and every value of the vector I can able to know whether it is an even or odd. I have to find it out. So at that time I have to use if else of x percentage 2 equal to 0. So each and every value is going to be divided with 2. So that is based on that is going to be return the result. And next one is that for loop. So for loop it is going to be used whenever the block of statement is to be executed multiple times for an iteration. Suppose if some set of variables, some set of statements are available. So the same set of statements are available. So instead of writing the statements around 10, same statements 10, same statements 10. So totally how much? 30 statements. So instead of writing this much length of 30 statements, so I'm going to place this statement into a loop. So the same set of statement is going to be repeated n number of times. So n times is sufficient to write the code. So in that one, first thing should be while and do while and for. So the syntax for loop is that so loop variable have to be specified in sequence and then have to write the statements. And loop variable, sequence and statements. So what is the loop variable? So the loop variable is going to be set a new value for each iteration of the loop. And sequence is nothing but a vector that is going to be assigned to the loop variable. And the statement 1 and statement 2 is nothing but they should be the body for the execution of the for loop. So like this, we can able to mention the different types of loop statements. Okay, so we have to specify what are the different types of conditional statements and loop statements. So normally this conditional statement is going to be considered as a logical expression how to specify, which is going to be imposed in different types of statements. Okay, so in this one, first one is else, and suppose if I want to check whether the number is even or odd, how can I able to write? So x is equal to 10. So if x is modulus 2 equal to 0, I can able to write. So print of even. Else also going to be used. If it is not even, then it should be odd. So like this, if else also normal going to be used. So the here what I explained is that so the if else is going to be used in a vector. Okay, if else is another kind of function that is going to be used in vector when I'm going to apply the if else condition, and this should be the loop statement. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.